Welcome to Thursday Thoughts, your weekly dose of real, honest conversation on all things personal growth. These are the chats Lucy and I love having every week over on Instagram. They're unfiltered, unedited, and always rooted in practical tools and a dose of inspiration. Let's dive in.
What we're talking about today it's this analogy that I love and use all the time, and I'm sure you and I have talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's not my analogy. I can't remember who I first heard talk about this, but I've heard several people talk about it, and I think it's such a brilliant analogy, and it's basically this is all about mindset, and this is all about checking in with where your thoughts are and how you're feeling, because as you and I talk about all the time, if we want to attract good things into our lives, we have to be really, really conscious every day of how we're thinking and how we're feeling. I cannot, and in fact, I was thinking about this morning when I was on a walk, actually, thinking how I have to be unapologetic about talking about this all the time, because what you realize is that, people say the same message over and over and over again. And this is one of my core messages on my podcast, on Instagram, is really being vigilant about how we're thinking and how we're feeling. And this analogy I love. So basically, it's thinking of ourselves like a radio, and thinking every single day, moment to moment, or, every hour, every couple of hours, what station are you tuning into? Because essentially, we live in this crazy, incredible universe where all potentiality is out there, right? So we live in this sort of infinite universal field, and everything is available to us. The question is, what are we tuning our radio station into? So are we tuning into Shite FM? Are we tuning into Joy FM? Are we tuning into Hope FM? Because the truth is that we get to choose what we're tuning into. And this is, it's the same as when you and I talk about what lens are you looking through every single day? Because this, two people with exactly the same circumstances can see their lives into completely different ways. It's like, I talk about single life, and you can have two single women who've been single for the same time. They've got the same background. They, let's say they do the same job. They live in a similar flat. They've got all the same circumstances, and they've both been single for the same amount of time. They've got this, let's just say they've got a very similar relationship history. One of them can fully fucking love being single and lean into the freedom and the opportunity and the no compromise and all of the good things about it. And the other woman can be feeling miserable and lonely and like she's missing out and like she's lacking. This is the thing. What are we tuning into? So I just would encourage people to really think about that. And it's one of those things that we have to keep checking back on, because we all have a tendency to go into autopilot. You and I do it. I certainly do it. I'll just go back into autopilot and I will forget, and I'll find, suddenly I'll be like, oh, why am I feeling annoyed about this? Or I'll let something get to me. But it's that awareness that because we're all, we're human. We're always going to feel annoyed about something, or, angry about this, or worried about whatever it is. We're all going to feel those negative things, which of course is completely normal, and we should. But the question is, can we recognize it? Can we become aware of it? And can we start to tune our station into something with music that we actually want to hear? Because, if you're tuning into Shite FM and you're listening to fucking rock death metal, you're going to feel like shit, unless you like death metal. I personally don't. But, I just think it's such a brilliant way of thinking about it. What are you tuning into? And again, when you think about a radio, you've got a radio sitting in a room. The truth is that every single station is available. Every single station is available. But you tune into the one, whatever you tune your frequency into, that is what you're going to hear. But it's all out there available for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think I first heard this I think it was Cathy Heller, because she speaks about this a huge amount.
Excuse me.
And that's where we met. It was
exactly, yeah.
Courses all those many years ago.
God.
But This just totally made sense to me when I first heard this, because it's just that awareness that everything is available to you. Every feeling, every state is available to you, and we get to choose. This is the best thing. We get to choose how we want to feel. And I think sometimes it's very easy to forget, but we have agency over that because we're so stuck in Shite FM. We're so stuck in feeling like everything's against us. Well, things are happening to us. But actually, when you take a step back and you remind yourself that, it's the exact same person living the exact same life as you actually could be having a wholly different experience to what you are experiencing. It's really powerful. And yes, it is, you've got to do the work to become aware of it, because it is very easy to go wake up in the morning, be worrying, be stressing, be thinking the world, everything is really shit. And we all, it's very easy to get into those thoughts, and we all do it. But equally, you can literally change that radio station when you become aware of it and just realize that actually there is so much good in the world. You look for the small glimmers, look for the things which actually bring you joy. And amazingly, when we start to seek those more positive parts of life out, then our brains do this amazing thing. They work with us. They help. They start to tune into all of the positive. Our reticular activating system is there to help us, because we can't possibly take everything into our brains. There's so much information constantly coming at us. So we can only focus on a certain amount. So if you are focusing on the good, the positive, we focus more on that because our brain starts searching for it. It's like if you're buying a red car, suddenly you'll notice red cars everywhere. You're buying, a particular type, you start to notice it. Yeah. But the same happens with all of the shit stuff as well. All the negative stuff, we just pick up on it. And then when you're in that low vibrational energy, everything feels denser, heavier, and it's harder to shift out of it, and it's harder to see the good. Yeah. So it does take a bit of effort, to if you're in that heavy energy, it does take effort to switch, and you have to be so vigilant of where you are tuning into, so that you can start to retune and refine the good stuff. And I know this because, I know this because it's happened to me, and I am pretty generally as a person, pretty glass half full anyway. But there have been moments where you can feel into that sort of self-pity, that everything is tough for me. And actually, when you become aware of that and you do say to yourself, right, I'm gonna change this. I'm fed up with this. It is amazing how much brighter, lighter everything becomes.
Totally. And just going back to the reticular activating system, because this is such a good thing to remember, that, this is how our brain works. There is something, I can't remember the number, but there is some insane number that is the amount of information that comes to us every day, right? Every minute, every second, whatever it is. There is like so much information that is coming at us all the time. And like you so rightly said, we can only process a teeny tiny fraction of that information. And so our job is to really refine our brain so that our brain is picking up on the stuff that is going to make us feel good rather than the stuff that is going to make us feel bad. And literally, it's like we have to think about our brain as something that we train. And I never used to do this because I just wasn't really aware of this stuff. And when we don't intentionally train our brain to tune in to the radio station that we actually want to hear, then it just goes on to default. And what we do as humans is we I think the vast majority of people, or I think it's just a human thing, isn't it? We automatically kind of fall back to the negative. It's like that survival.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we have to realize that it's up to us to intentionally choose what we want our brain to filter for us. Because otherwise, if we leave it to its own devices, it's inevitably going to filter out the stuff that isn't really going to serve us and that isn't really going to make us feel good. So it's like thinking of your brain as something that you can train. And as you and I have talked about many times before, our brains are plastic. They are malleable. We can change literally the wiring in our brains right up until the day we die. So it's on us to take responsibility for that. And again, it's always a choice. And that doesn't mean it's always easy. Nobody said this work is easy. It's not. It's a practice. But this is why I love that radio station analogy so much, because if you're having a really shit day and you're feeling really down or bad or whatever it may be, I don't know, guilt or anger or whatever emotion you might be feeling, if you notice that, first of all, if you become aware of how you're feeling, then you can ask yourself the question, what have I been tuning into? What station have I been tuning into up until this point today? And inevitably, you'll realize that you've been tuning into, that thing that happened yesterday that made you feel really bad, or you've been tuning into the freaking news, or you've been tuning into, conversations at work about the state of the world, or whatever it is. So it always comes down to checking in with how you're feeling and then tracing that back to, why am I feeling like this? Oh, yes, because I've been tuning into Shite FM yet again. Let me retune my radio into something joyful, because it's all out there. It is this world. Like, we will find what we are looking for. We will find what we are expecting, whether that be good or bad. So we have to make the choice to tune in to the good. And again, that doesn't mean 24/7. None of us can do that. That's not possible. But we want to just be aware of this. And again, aware of that we have this thing called the reticular activating system, that we can use it to our advantage. This is the thing. We have to think about our brains and our minds like, wow, I can use this to my advantage. And I think when you think about it like that, you suddenly go, oh my God, what have I been doing? Like, we have to realize that we can train our brains to our advantage. And, you and I, it always comes back down to cultivating that more positive mindset and that more positive way of thinking, which doesn't mean you have to be positive all the time. It just means you train yourself to tune in more to the good stuff than the bad stuff, which means that you then deal with the bad stuff better apart from anything else. Yeah. You bounce back, you're more resilient, you're more optimistic, and one thing that you and I talk a lot about is, let's just say, if there's something that you want to do with your life, when it comes to what you believe is possible for you, this is another thing. This is another really, really big one. We have to train our brains to look out for what is actually possible for us, rather than always saying to ourselves, no, well, I couldn't do that. Like that, that doesn't happen to people like me. But really, it comes down to taking responsibility. And you said earlier on, life is happening to you. And I, funnily enough, I did a mini-sode just I think it was just this weekend, just gone, called It's Not Happening to You, It's Happening Through You. And I love this. Again, this is another sort of thing to think about. It's like, if you are one of those people, by the way, it used to be me, who thinks that life is happening to you, and you're kind of sitting in victim mode thinking, well, you're basically looking outside of yourself for why your life is how it is. So, well, you're blaming this person, or you're blaming your boss, or you're blaming your boyfriend, or whatever it is. Those kinds of people who believe that life is happening to them are sort of sitting in this place of victimhood, which is really, really disempowering. But what we have to realize is that actually life is happening through us. And what I mean by that is it's much more of an internal job than an external job. And when I say it's happening through us, I mean it's happening through our thoughts, and through our feelings, because we have to remember the key thing to remember is that our external reality is always a reflection of our internal reality. So what is going on inside of you is causing, to a certain extent, because obviously shit happens in life that we have no control over, but ultimately our external landscape is a reflection of our internal landscape, and we have to remember that every day.
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love, and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their true hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their true collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order. All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off.
Yeah, I think this is about taking you. If you are feeling like you have no control of your circumstances, that stuff is happening to you, actually, it's just about remembering you are able to take more control than you possibly think you probably can, and you start by doing that by your internal perspective, by tuning into the radio station that you choose. You get to do that. And I think practically in terms of doing this, again, we both talk a lot about how you start your day is so vitally important, but it's a great opportunity to tune yourself into the radio station you want. First thing in the morning, you get every day. I just think it's such a brilliant opportunity for a reset. You get to start the day again. The sun rises. Let's say goodbye to yesterday and just start the day afresh and wake up and actually take a moment just to decide, right, how do I want to be today? How am I going to show up? What perspective, how am I going to see the world today? And just try it. Just try looking at it in the way that you decide. And this is why I'm such a fan of just doesn't have to be very long, but a short morning practice to reflect how you are, let go of the old stuff, and just decide, literally decide, today I'm going to look for more positive stuff, or I'm going to show up calmly. I'm going to look, we're not going to be in like Zen FM all the whole time, but actually, can I be in this place where I'm going to really notice those good things. I'm going to smile at someone in the street, and, just little actions like that, which can, then you'll get something back from them. What energy are you bringing into the day? So I would really suggest that as a starting point, waking up and being intentional, and then just catch yourself throughout the day. Catch yourself, just literally maybe every time that you go to the loo. I mean, this is always a good one because you're going to be doing that throughout the day. Just check in with yourself.
Yeah.
How do I feel? How do I feel? Am I still being intentional to that person I was this morning?
I've never thought about doing it every time we go to the loo.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah, because you're going to do, that's something you're definitely going to do.
Yeah.
So just, tune in. Or, we also talk about setting an alarm on your phone to check in, or whatever you need to just think, am I still have I gone back to my default mode, or am I still looking out for the good things? And I promise you, you start to notice it so much more easily. And also, what we really start to notice is the other people in your world and what they're tuning into. Because again, I think we all know those people who can bring us down and who are complaining, who are who have that heavy, dense energy. And actually, when you start to retune yourself, those people suddenly you notice it. And actually, that's a really good awareness for yourself, because you're looking for other things, which is quite interesting as well.
It's so true. It's something that over the last few years of doing this work, I've really started to notice. It's almost like one of the sort of downsides of it, because you suddenly realize how many people tend to tune into Shite FM rather than Zen FM. It's so interesting, but also it's a good wake up call for yourself, because when you start noticing it in other people, it highlights it in yourself as well, which kind of makes you go, oh gosh, hang on a minute, am I being a bit this or a bit that? And again, it's like just a reminder that we have to remember that in this universe, this we all come from this same source energy. We're all part of this same universal energy and this universal source, and every single eventuality is there for the taking. It is just a question of what do you want to tune into. And again, the reason I love this radio analogy so much is because, to me anyway, it just makes sense when I think, actually, when you are looking at a radio without, before you've turned it on and tuned into whatever you're going to listen to, everything's there. Every single station is in that radio station. Everything, every single station is in the room, right? They're all there. They're all there at the same time. It's just you get to make the decision about what you tune the dial to. And for me anyway, that it just really lands for me. It just really makes sense for me. Oh yeah, it's all available. That's the thing. It's all available, but it's up to us what we want to listen to,
And I think, it does. I just want to reiterate, it does take practice. And, if you are in a tough spot right now, it does take practice. So just be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, give yourself compassion, because if you keep defaulting, it's because of your neural pathways are so used to thinking in that way and seeing the world through that way, that it takes time.
Definitely.
And it takes practice, but just keep bringing yourself back. Just keep looking, perhaps start writing a journal in your, about all the good things that have happened today. Perhaps before you go to bed, start to just say, find 3 things that went really well for you today. Perhaps wake up, be intentional about how you want the day to be. So just start by picking out these few things and then just build on that, and just be patient with yourself, because it does take time. If your state has been so defaulted, which I know mine was for ages, it's hard to come out of it, and it's hard to change your way, but it's not impossible, because as you said, our brains are plastic. We neuroplasticity, we can mold it to what we want, so it is doable.
And also, this is something I talk about like literally ad nauseam, but one of the biggest and best hacks, if you want a hack to change the way that you think, is listen to good stuff every day. Listen to turn the fucking news off and listen to a podcast or an audiobook that is inspirational, and where you've got people having a conversation about something interesting or educational or inspirational or motivational. That, I swear to God, that is the biggest hack to change your brain. It's easy. It is a complete no-brainer. You just shove your headphones in, choose a podcast that makes you feel good, and listen to that. It is the easiest and best way. I swear to God, that is hugely a huge part of the reason how I managed to shift my mindset into a more positive place. Like it's huge, and it's so easy. We can all do it easily for free every single day. So just know that that is the hack, because if you're like you say, this isn't easy, and it does take work, and crucially it takes time, right? But if you want a way to really give yourself a head start, watch what you're listening to, because that is going to change the way that you feel, the way that you think. And I can't remember whether you and I talked about this last week or whether I talked about this on a Thrive solo call, but it's so fascinating. If you think about the 8.5 billion people on this planet, every single one of those people is who they are largely in part to what they consume and the people that they hang around with. And if you think about the difference between what a 17-year-old boy is consuming and what you or I are consuming, think about how that makes you see the world differently, depending on what, like if you are, just things like, if your life is spent playing video games and watching Andrew fucking Tate, just think what that is going to do to the way that you think and the way that you feel and the way that you see the world. And this is what we have to remember. Yeah. It really, it's so huge. And again, think about the 8.5 or however many billion people living on this planet. Every single one of them, the way that they are seeing the world, the lens that they are looking through, the station that they are tuned into is hugely impacted by what is going into their brains, what they're consuming on social media, what they're listening to, what they're watching, the kind of conversations they're having with who they're hanging out with. So this is like hack number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and there are so many things available, so many groups available. Just look at you and me. So you have your membership, Thrive Solo. All of that is about changing your mindset to be able to live positively as a single woman. My membership, the Inner Space, 3 mornings a week, is exactly about this. It's about intentionally 7:30 in the morning, starting your morning from an intentional place, using your breath to down regulate, to get yourself into that state of really good feeling, so you can take that into the day. And it makes a difference how you start your day. So there is stuff out there which you can get on board with, which is there to it's just about finding your thing to help you tune in to your radio station. It's going to make you feel blooming amazing. You might fall out of it, but just keep reminding yourself, this is how I want to feel. Because you're going to live a much happier, more joyful life.
Yeah. Why would you not?
Exactly. Well, there we go. Rant so much.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty much probably done, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, I think we've covered it. I think we've covered
Groovy, baby.
Yeah, no. All right, my love.
All right, babe. Well, we'll be back on Monday for our usual Monday motivation. And sending you lots of love.
Yeah, and you.
See you later, babe. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.